Let's bring supermarkets to the people. You've got to be ready to be successful. That's scary. Good morning, everybody. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here. I have met and know so many of you from past events together, and I appreciate the invitation to speak about what I think is one of the most fun things with the food industry. I mean, if that's not fun, what else could there be? I do have one objective on this trip. I am not going home until I can pronounce the name of this city properly. Aarhus, is that close?
It's close.
Aarhus. I'm going to get it before I leave. One thing that makes food marketing interesting is everybody eats food. It doesn't matter where you are, the food industry is pertinent. And of course, we have pictures of people all over the world, but at the same time, the issue is no market is exactly the same. We have to take into account, as researchers and as marketers, we have to take into account that it's the differences and as well as the similarities that we have to focus on. We're in marketing. Marketing is not making people buy what you want to sell, but it's selling what people want to buy. It's not just saying, we make this, let's try and get people to buy it. It won't work. It won't work in your domestic market, and it won't work in the international market. Our job is to find out what people want to buy and then make it. Now, it used to be a bigger problem, but the ability to communicate, the changes in communication, make it easier and easier for us to find out what do people want to eat. There's so many new things coming in line. We can look at vegans. We can see the different levels of vegans that are taking place in different countries. We have whole different sets of foods that vegetarians eat. But we need to focus as well. We need to focus as well on the cultures and the people. But we have to remember that change is going to happen quickly. I've been studying food marketing really. I've been eating food, not studying food, for about 40 years. And I would say in the last 5 years, I've seen more changes than I did in the previous 35 years. Wow! I mean, it's just, one thing after another. What do we have in common? What are the things that we share in the international market? Everybody wants to sell food. Around the world, there's an emphasis on health and wellness. We can market more to the preferences of individuals. I'm going to show you examples of all these. But we can so closely focus on those individual people. One thing that's going to happen in this world of online marketing and et cetera is stores have to become more exciting. We have to give people a reason to go to grocery stores. In the US, for example, and I apologize for many of my examples will be from the US, but there's hundreds of grocery stores going out of business every year. Not a couple, hundreds. Now, I understand that many of them are being bought by other grocery chains, but about half of those are being closed, etc. The battlefield is still this global versus local. You know, we have global brands, and they have a certain panache, a certain, quality, but at the same time, people want local. And my God, the reasons, every person has a different reason for why they want local. Some people want local because they think it's fresher. Some people want local because they think it's safer. Some people want local because they want to help their farmers. And of course, transparency and traceability. We want to know where the products came from. I was talking to a French company that grows romaine. I don't know if you followed anything in the U.S. market, but they stopped all sales of romaine. This company grew romaine. And he was saying, we have a system where we can identify where every single piece of romaine comes from, the field where it went, etc. But since most people didn't have that, they had to shut down the whole market for romaine. Needless to say, he lost millions of dollars. Peter Drucker was probably one of the best-known management consultants. And he said, in this fast-changing world, what worked yesterday probably doesn't work today. That's scary. That's scary because a lot of you are sitting here learning stuff that in 5 years from now may not be pertinent. Well, I have good news. It will be pertinent. But it won't be exactly the same way as what we did in this particular time period. Who would have guessed? Come on, who would have guessed that the largest retailer in the world, not Amazon, not Walmart, but Alibaba, largest retailer in the world. I just like saying that name. Alibaba. And you think, well, what do they sell? Cosmetics, computers, etc. No, Alibaba has, see if I can find the right button here. I know there's a button here let me try this one. That's not it.
In the front. In the top.
The top one? Thank you. 118,000 fresh, it should be, fresh fruit and vegetable choices. You can't build a grocery store big enough to house all those things. But look at what's happening. In the U.S., Alibaba is forming a partnership with the second largest supermarket chain in the U.S., Kroger. Who would have thought? Now, Amazon just bought Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a really different kind of supermarket in the U.S. It is really totally focused on health, wellness, organic foods, etc. Amazon's making a bet. Amazon's making a bet that the world is moving a little bit more towards the impact of health, wellness, and consumption of food. Let's look. I want to just spend a minute and say, what the hell is going on here? I'm in Denmark. I can say hell. Is that correct? Yeah. What are some of the changes that are leading to these events that close supermarket chains, that make companies, online companies, be larger than any of the bricks and mortar stores? First of all, it's a different world out there. This is a famous painting by the American artist the Thanksgiving dinner. And this is the modern family. Does any of you ever see that on television? It's a very different, naturally the American back there is sitting there saying, yeah, I like it. It's just a whole different way of eating. You know, I don't know how Danish families usually eat, but in the U.S., very few families eat a meal together. Now, there's lots of reasons why they don't. Kids today are programmed to be in athletic things and dancing and you name it, that everyone's on the run. I go down to visit my grandchildren, and there's 4 of them, there's never more than 1 in the house. Same with the German families. It's a different way, you know, and we don't see it in the food industry. Sometimes we don't see what's actually happening. I was in a German supermarket a few years ago. I was with 10 executives. I said, tell me, how does the typical German eat? He says, yeah, and the Hausfrau here, she goes to the shopping every day. They make the meal, the go, it's wunderbar. The family eats together. I said, well, that's really interesting. I said, I appreciate that. Let me ask you a question. I said, did you eat that way last night? He said, no, I didn't eat that way. You know, I was on the road working. Oh, I understand. And did you eat that way last night? No, you know, I live alone. I was at the gym. I didn't actually even eat dinner last night. Guess how many out of the 10 executives ate the way the typical German family eats? 0. Not 1. And I think that, you know, we in the food industry, and we as researchers in the food industry, we have 2 obligations. One obligation is to recognize those changes and see those changes. And the second obligation is tell people about it. Again, the German describes something that may be a euphemism or something from the past, or a few people still eat that way. The second thing, I want to point this out because this is huge. If you ask Americans what is the typical family size or the largest family size, most people say, oh, probably 3 people. Used to be 4, you know, a husband and wife and 2 children, etc. Wrong. The most typical family size in the U.S. is single-person households. There are more single-person households than any other type of household. And we're not even the largest. Look at this. Sweden, 47% are single-person households. France, look at the growth in single-person households. That makes a difference. And how have many companies reacted to the fact that they once sold to a family of 4? They did nothing different. Sometimes they put them in a smaller package. I was in a supermarket the other day, and I always like to test, you know, to see how things are changing. And I walked up to this kid who was putting cantaloupes, melons, you know, stacking them. And I said, excuse me, can I just buy half a melon? I don't think so, sir. I said, well, could you go and ask the manager? Yes. He walks back, you know, but he didn't see that I walked with him. And he walks up to the manager and he says, hey, Bill, some jackass out there wants to buy half a melon. And then he turns and he sees me and he says, and this gentleman wants the other half. Single-person households are having a major impact on the way food is being changed. Millennials, the digital natives, it's unbelievable. I once had an assistant that worked for me, and her last choice was to go to the store. I mean, the first thing that happened was she would say, oh, I need or want this. Bing, out comes the phone. And she would be searching and searching. And when there was no good choice, then she went to the store. I was fascinated by that. But there's another thing. They're walking to a different drummer. Many of you are probably in the digital native age, and you don't realize the difference in the behaviors from the people. Being instructors, being in the university, I don't know whether you noticed it here in Denmark, but there's a big difference from the students that I taught years back, right before they had electricity. And now, there's a big difference. What are people demanding? Well, health and health and wellness. A lot of this is really a driving function. Buying local. This is really people really like the idea. You know, in American supermarkets, the best grocery stores all have pictures of the farmers. They have where the product's coming from. They make a big deal about that. Oh, by the way, they also charge more for it. Failed to mention that. No pesticides. Clean labels. I'm never quite sure why people want clean labels. But it's a huge thing. No antibiotics and hormones, sustainability. These are the things that people worry about. Now, in many cases, I'm uncomfortable with the logic that people use for things like no hormones and antibiotics. I think in some cases, people are misled by one of the best things in the world, which is the internet, which gives us such wonderful opportunities to communicate, to learn, etc. But it's not all positive. However, it doesn't matter, right? In marketing, it doesn't matter. If they want it, they want it. They don't have to, come up with some reason. We don't pass judgment. We don't say, oh, yeah, you want that? That's just damn silly. No, if that's what they want, that's what we give them. And we studied at my university. We studied local, and one of the things that came up was how many different reasons people gave for wanting local. By the way, I just make a comment. We have both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in food marketing. Food marketing in my university is the largest major in the university. More people study food marketing than any other field in the university, which is a Jesuit university in Philadelphia. But look at all the different things. These are all things people said why they like local. It's healthier. Not sure why it's healthier, but you think it's healthier? They like the small business. They think of small farms. They think it's sustainable. One of the most interesting things was, I remember one lady in a focus group said, I can't believe that my local farmers would put something on plants that would harm me. They're my neighbors. And it seemed like a very reasonable answer to what they're looking for. Food with a story. Man, we need to build stories about food. There's some wonderful examples of things that have happened, that we need to tell people about. How it was grown, how it was discovered, how these things, especially processed foods. What's happening in this world, the food business? Because all these changes are taking place, what's happening? Food retailing is changing dramatically. Food processing is changing. And food marketing, how we talk to people, how we decide what people want, how we listen to people, that's changing dramatically. And you know, we have in food marketing a special obligation. If we're the eyes and ears of a corporation, if we're really marketers, if we really believe that we have to make what people want to buy, it's our job to represent the consumer at the decision-making time. It's our job to sit there and represent consumers in the discussions. Now, I can tell you now, in the U.S., the financial people are the ones who are running those meetings. And they're worried more about Wall Street than they are Main Street. And the decisions are not necessarily being led in the right direction. Retailing has gone from this to Amazon Go. Have you been reading about Amazon Go? Listen, it's a store. It's a fairly large store, a little bigger than most, but you just walk in, buy what you want, and walk out. That's it. Now, that may not seem as amazing to you because it seems like everything in the world you can do on your phones here. But for us, it's kind of amazing. No checkout. Walk in, pick up what you want, and leave. But retailers have to make their stores more exciting. This is a store in Ohio, Jungle Jim's. Most grocery stores in America look like they were designed by funeral homes. Really, they're just big squares. And have you ever seen the managers in these stores? May I help you? I mean, it looks like they're fake people, you know. Jungle Jim's is really exciting. And you see some of the in-store displays that they have. This is a Kroger supermarket. Just putting a little bit of excitement, just making it look a little more interesting. Just, you know, one of the things that Jungle Jim does is many of them have these misting devices over the produce, the fresh produce. So every hour a little mist falls. Jungle Jim has the sound of thunder, and the lights blink, and it's like a thunderstorm in the store. You say, so what? How many supermarkets have their customers' children saying, I want to let's shop at Jungle Jim's? Wow! I mean, usually you're fighting with kids to go there. I want to go to Jungle Jim's. It's not. And again, it's a beautiful store. Let's put supermarkets where the customers are. This is from, obviously, Albert Heinz in Schiphol. Say that right? Schiphol. By the way, I tried to get the picture so you could see it was really busy. I mean, it was really, who the hell? You think people, say, hey, listen, we got to go to the groceries. Let's go to the airport. That's not what it's there for. It's all the business people or all the families coming back from a vacation or business, and they said, oh, geez, we've got nothing to eat at home. Instead of stopping at a convenience store, instead of making an extra trip, right there, you can pick up what you need for that night. Come on, that is like incredibly convenient. It's when you need the food, they have it right there. Not an extra stop, saving time. It's not just, there it's, and this one is putting supermarkets in the U.S., JFK in Boston. Here's one in Billa. It's either Romania or Hungary, one of the Eastern European countries. Yeah, people are saying, let's not make people go to our supermarket. Let's bring supermarkets to the people. What the hell? How did it took so long to figure that out? We have something really interesting called grocerants. Grocerants, if you go in there, you're not quite sure, is it a supermarket or is it a restaurant? And it's really this mixture of both. You have all the people there, and they look like they ought to be doing costumes. Costumes in supermarket are so important. You know, in most cases, people walk around in T-shirts, etc., and they could have just, well, you're not sure if they work there. They just came in to buy. But so many places have figured out the importance of costuming. These people aren't chefs. They look like chefs. And looking like something can change how people feel about the environment. Disney understands that. Hey, do you really think that when Goofy is kind of walking around in the park at Disneyland, it's really Goofy? No, it's a costume. You know, there was a play called Cats, and it was all about cats. And they had these incredible costumes. Do you think it would have still been such a famous play if people walked out in suits and, you know, looked up and said, midnight, not around, and no, they look like cats, but listen, they're really not cats. But it enhances your enjoyment. It's just as true in supermarkets. Make people look like what people want to expect. Bakers look like bakers. Chefs, you know, give people a sense of wanting to be there, that it's special. We're seeing all sorts of different types of formats around the world. A supermarket opened in northern New Jersey. Whoops. They have these bars like this, organic greens. This one supermarket has 12 of those tables with every kind of prepared food you could think of. And we think, what is a store? This is something that is in Chicago. They put them at bus stops and train stations. We're all in a busier society than we've ever been in. And we just look for time when we have nothing to do. How about waiting for a bus? All you do here is you pick out your phone and you go food shopping. Click on the QR code and it'll be sent to you, assuming you're in the system. Probably, do you have that here? You have everything else on that telephone, on your phone. The other day we got on a bus and we paid the bus fare I didn't pay. She paid the bus fare with her phone. I couldn't believe it. Here we have again Amazon Go. They're starting this in a full-size supermarket as we speak. Again, you just walk in, pick up your food and leave. And of course, China has the same system. They have what they call bingo boxes. You walk in, pick up what you want and leave. Sainsbury has cashier-free convenience. Just scan what you want on your phone and walk out with it. That's England, by the way. This is what I like. This makes so much sense to me. This is a virtual supermarket. All of this is just pictures. and you scan it, and you can pick it up at the pickup point. You just walk around. Can you think of the money this saves? Can you think of not having to take the product, put it up on the shelf, someone takes it off the shelf, carries it to checkout? Can you think about the savings? I mean, labor is one of the most expensive things in the supermarket. Can you realize you don't have to worry about something being out of stock? You don't have to worry about something being out of code, out of date? Augmented reality, this is going to be huge, ladies and gentlemen. This is just starting. Where whoever it is that knows where you are up in the sky, I don't know, but they know exactly where you are in the supermarket. And as you walk down the aisle and you walk to the Coca-Cola place, you get a bing, an email from Pepsi saying, Pepsi's on sale. Right at the point of attack. They're going to, and they're doing it already. I mean, it's nothing new. Plus, you can do all sorts of different things. I mean, you can tell people messages. You can do all of these different types of activities. My son works for a company that makes this, well, I should say, when he works. My son was a stand-up comedian in New York City for a long time. Finally, he quit. Someone said, why did he quit? They asked me, why did he quit? I said, I couldn't afford it any longer. Look for this, the in-aisle stuff. And what else they have, kind of unrelated, I just saw it the other day. They have a robot that goes down the aisle, uses visual recognition, and tells you whether you're out of stock, if the prices are right, if you conform to the category plan, the planogram. It tells you if the sale prices are there, if you've bought an end cap, tells you if the end cap is there. And so it sends a message back to the center only if there's a problem in the store. And then you can send a person to that store. What do we do now? We send someone out to every single store and waste their time because only 25% of the stores really have a problem. Huge financial savings. I really like this from Leo Tolstoy. I always have to include one Russian because I have a close Russian friend that everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks about changing himself. See, we have an obligation in the food industry. If we change how we think about things, if we think about how we do things, that message is carried to the next person. We cannot change the world, but we can change the way we think about it and how we act as professionals in the food industry. Well, the biggest change, besides the things I was talking about, is now everyone is trying to sell food. So we once had this wonderful place called the supermarket, and if you're going to eat at home, you went to the supermarket. If you're going to go to the restaurant, and if you want to eat out, you go to a restaurant. Two choices. Most food companies are organized that way. You have the grocery chain and the food service salespeople. What's happening? How's the distribution of food being changed? Its major thing is convenience stores. Convenience stores are no longer a place where you simply buy cigarettes and maybe newspapers or a hot dog or a banana. No, you can get all sorts of incredible things. And this is from the Philadelphia area, and it always wins every year the best convenience store in the country. They're ahead of everybody. And one of the reasons why is And this is kind of silly, I know, but they focus on convenience. Imagine that, a convenience store focusing on convenience. These are, again, pictures from convenience stores. Lots of different kinds of foods, etc. And of course, we have convenience stores. The same thing's happening around the world. I know I have a lot of US pictures, but make no mistake, this is happening everywhere. It's happening because it's another occasion when you have, in this busy world, free time. When? When you're putting gas in your car. When you're right there at the, you just walk right into the store and get what you want. And they're actually taking this a step farther, where they're giving you coupons. You're able to add to your credit card. Let's say I want to buy some milk, I want to do this, etc. You get the receipt, you just walk in, pick up what you want, and leave. And it gives someone something to do while they're standing there trying to pump their gas. But the credit card is paid right there, so you don't have to make 2 stops to pay. A big thing is these subscription services. And again, these are different parts of the world. They love subscription services. Every month they send you something. Every month you get another package of whatever it is. I think I have, let me see if the next one has. Yes, this is, every month you get snack food. You get different things to eat, etc. You don't have to go to the store and buy those. You don't have to worry about, do I have these things? And these are terrific because, you know, there's 2 types of products out there. Products that, because you have it, you eat more of it. Someone once said to me, how big is a single serving of a bag of potato chips? I said, whatever size bag I'm eating. We tend to consume more if we have it. That may not be true for paper towels. We don't necessarily wash our hands more often because we have extra paper towels. But this is money right out of the supermarket pocket, right out of the traditional place to where these products have been. And we're seeing more and more. We're seeing more vending. More vending. Vending gives people the opportunity to have 24-hour stores, to be open on Christmas Day, to have all of these things. And they have a good idea of what people want to buy. This was the self-service supermarket was from, I believe, Romania. And it was in the lobby of a big residential apartments. We're seeing more and more of these. And of course, the two fabulous reasons. Cashless, multi-atmosphere. You have dried, on-shelf food, you have frozen food, you have there's nothing you can't buy in a vending machine. Home shopping. I know you have those. You have those here in Denmark, don't you, where you can buy things on, they usually show you jewelry or something like that. Am I correct? You have the home shopping networks, or no one knows?
Tupperware.
Pardon?
Tupperware.
Tupperware, they usually go to your house, right?
Yeah.
But this is actually on television, and one is called the QVC in the US, the other is Home Shopping Network. And gosh, I can't believe you don't have a home shopping network in Denmark.
There are some commercials on it.
What's that?
There are some commercials in some of the TV channels, but
No,
it's not the Danish ones.
Yeah. But most people, certainly I know there's one in Germany, and I know there's one in literally most countries, but you think of them that they're selling makeup or computers or clothes or things like that. But they sell food, and they're making a huge amount of money. And what the advantage they have here in selling all of these things over the TV, on the TV, is it's almost like one-to-one selling. It's because, remember, you're sitting in your living room, and on the screen, this person is kind of looking at you. You don't realize there's 200, 300,000 people, but to you, it's just one-on-one. In Philadelphia, they hired a guy from South Philly, which is all Italian, and he was selling pasta sauce. And he gets on the TV, and he looks, into the camera. And he says, my mom used to say, Guido, when are you making the sauce? It's the best of the sauce. I mean, you're thinking, this guy, he's unbelievable. He takes such care making this spaghetti sauce. And he was selling his spaghetti sauce for $14 a jar. And he sold out. He sold out. But look, the things you can buy online with people telling you about these things. I mean, food, entrees, seafood. And of course, the main thing is they get to tell you a story. It's always some wonderful story. Mouth-watering. The one guy sold oysters. But he was talking about how his grandfather and his father before him, how they went out with rakes and got the oysters. And, you're just, wow, that's just such a wonderful story. I think I'll spend 3 times more than I should. We talk a lot about the impact that this has on retail, etc. But there's a tremendous advantage of what's happening to logistics. We can't underestimate the impact of logistics on the global food industry and what we're capable of doing today and how things have changed. The impact of air freight, the speed at which the ships go, the climate control in trucks, and all of these things have just totally shaken up what it is that we've done. Because when you say marketing is selling what people want to buy, we have to think of that whole chain of how we get it there. Of course, we have the home delivery. We have the Amazon Fresh. And you order food on Amazon. If you order before some time, that food will be delivered that day. Now here's something that a lot of us didn't think about, me in particular. I thought, well, I can understand people may buy soup or they may buy paperware, things. But who would buy fresh meat? Who would buy fresh vegetables? I mean, I can't imagine buying that stuff. Well, my daughter uses this. And I said, don't you want to see the steaks and pick out your own meat? She said, Dad, I wouldn't even know what to look at. She said, I don't know how to pick out a steak. I don't know how to tell if a melon is. I'd rather let the experts do it. So in just the time period between my mother and my daughter, it went from my mother picking up and handling every single piece of meat, and I don't want this and I don't want that, to my daughter saying, send me 2 pounds of steak. What a change. But it's not just, again, I try and make it clear, it's not just U.S. Tesco has the same thing. Tesco has it better. Tesco has click and collect. You order your food and you say where you want it and you just drive up and there it is. No hassle with the supermarket. This is good news for Tesco because, in part, you don't have necessarily clogged up stores, clogged up people at the aisle. But what do you lose? What do you lose? Impulse purchases. They're solving that. They're solving that with pop-up ads while you're there. They're saying, have you thought about this? Would you like to upgrade? Suppose you say, I want to buy salami. Thing jumps up on your screen and says, do you want the imported Italian salami? I mean, they're making impulse buying possible online. And of course, there's, again, a lot of these places have the pickup, the home delivery, and this of course, is where the logistical savings comes in. We have meal kits. Do you have meal kits here where somebody sends you the whole meal? Can you believe that just Blue Apron, this one, is a $196 million business, sending people probably $100 million worth of food? Why would people do that? You know, here's the problem. The retailers, I forgot what time am I supposed to be finished? I have, no, I should be on the
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Then we'll take a few questions, okay. You tell me, okay, Polly? The supermarket said, we don't have to worry about this. Who is going to spend twice as much money to have someone send to the house, you know, everything they need? You could, why, instead of getting, you know, the little portion of the menu, you go to the supermarket and pick up a whole head of lettuce, not just a little bit of it. Boy, did they make a mistake, because it's primarily young people who are buying these, those millennials. And you know what? They didn't like buying a whole head of lettuce, cutting up half of it for the meal, and then letting the other half go bad. They're concerned about food waste. So they're willing to pay a little bit extra to have just the portions that they want. Again, these are the European meal kits. It's the fast-paced environment. The latest entrance is Unilever. Unilever getting into sending to the home everything you need to make a terrific meal. How about office? Has anyone been to office supply stores? In most of them, they sell coffee and sugar and all the kinds of things you need for in the office, candies, etc. You'd be shocked. Now, I know you'd say, well, that's not putting supermarkets out of business. Someone buys their coffee and their creamers and stuff like that. No, it's like what's happening in the supermarkets is death by 1,000 little cuts. They're losing a little bit of this business to the office supply. They're losing a little bit of this from people having a subscription, getting sent food every year. They're losing a little bit to the meal that someone bought in the convenience store. No one is just beating their heads in. Everybody is just taking a little piece of the supermarket business. Again, the same thing is true in the European. They have a wide variety of food products. But now, the big thing is the elephant in the room. Does that expression translate into Danish or whatever, right? The elephant in the room, something that everyone sees but no one talks about it. And it's e-commerce and social media. We could spend the next day talking about the impact of this. So I just want to make a few comments about this. A.C. Nielsen said that 70% of consumers will be doing their grocery shopping online. Do you know what the percentage is currently in the United States? It's about 2%. 2%. Only 2%. Now, it's predicted to grow. But it's predicted to grow if no one does anything, if no one reacts, if no one doesn't take steps to make the supermarkets, to make the brick and mortar stores a better place. If they don't, they're going to be disappearing faster than what they're currently doing. This rather well-known prediction from Nielsen is only if supermarkets, if the brick and mortar stores just sit back and say, listen, this worked for the last 50 years, we're just going to continue to do it. I'm almost embarrassed to come here and talk about what you can do with your phones. First of all, you already do a lot more than we do in the US. And from what I've told, in China, they even do more with their phone than you do here in Denmark. But really, the whole idea of in-store marketing is becoming huge. And mostly it has to do with the GPS and where you are in the store. And they know what you're standing in front of. It knows the deals that other people have. It knows that one person's soup might be on sale, and you simply offer a better deal online as you walk past it. But we're also seeing what is artificial intelligence taking place. Currently, in the supermarket near me, you can get online and you can order your food. But one of the things you do is you don't order it by how it's convenient for the stores. That is, I want pork, I want this, I want that. You could go to the recipe file and you just click on, I want to make this tonight, and bang, everything you need to make that is on your shopping list. It also keeps track of what you've been using, what you've been buying, and what you haven't been buying. And using predictive analytics, it's able to make suggestions on things that you ought to buy. If any of you are like me, it never fails. I come home with a package of groceries, I set them down, and my wife said, did you remember to get this? No. Back out to the store I go. This uses predictive analytics and actually makes suggestions based on what you've been doing in the past. Now, this has really been developed in the non-food sector. Disney probably has the best analytics. But I will tell you this, I was in a meeting at Campbell's Soup Company just a few days ago, and I was told that Campbell's has disbanded their marketing research group. All of their work is going to be done through various analytic models. I personally don't understand that. I happen to think that talking to people is still a very important way of doing things. But this is my favorite. I can go to a baseball game now. Baseball is an American sport. Baseball is kind of interesting because a lot of international people can watch football, and it's, pretty easy, American football. It's easy to understand. You have to be born and raised with American baseball to understand it at all. It's kind of like cricket for me. I'm a bit of a sports fan, watching, not playing. And I always wanted to learn about cricket. So I lived in the UK for a while, and I thought, I'm going to go home with a real good understanding of cricket. I basically was able to figure out who was on which team. Like, that was the most complicated game I've ever seen, and I know people feel that same way. But now you can go to the baseball stadium and order what you want, etc. One of the things that we have to realize, one of the things that we have to share through our research, through our presentations, is the world of food is not going to be the same. And if you're in the food business, you've got to be prepared to participate in all of these different channels of distribution. You've got to be prepared to make the kind of food that millennials want to buy today. You have to be prepared to have your product delivered to the home. You have to be prepared to do every one of these activities, because some of them are going to fail, but some are going to be hugely successful, and you've got to be ready to be successful. You've got to have an open mind to how this food industry is changing. You have to have an open mind. You can't say, oh, that might be happening in Japan, or that may be happening in the United States or someplace else, because it will happen wherever you live. It will. There is so much communication and knowledge and travel, and people who go to China find that there's foods that they'd like to have here, and people from China coming here and saying, I'd like to have more of this. You can't put all your eggs into one basket. The message for the future of food is you've got to be ready to be where the customers want to be with what the customers want to buy. You know, a lot of people think, they say, Darwin said only the strongest survive. Darwin did not say that. Darwin said, in the struggle for survival, the fittest win out at the expense of their rivals because they succeed in adapting themselves to their environment. I'm here to tell you, our environment has changed, and I'm here to tell you that if you don't adapt, you're going to be the zebra. We're the people, the professionals in the food industry, that have to continue to deliver this message. We're the scholars. We're the participants. It's our duty. It is our duty. I want to thank you all for the time, and I appreciate you having me here. Thank you very much.